Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. Today we are interviewing the poet, philosopher, former comedic MC, and the man who also happens to be my father, Mr. Carlos Brown. We ask you to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz. Today we have a very special artist. He was a comedic MC who worked with some of the greatest jazz artists, such as Thelonious Monk, Pharoah Sanders, the Modern Jazz Quartet, Yusef Lateef, the Last Poets, and more. He is also a philosopher, as you will get to see, and he's also my father. So today I would like to welcome my father, Mr. Carlos Brown. Pop, how you doing?
Thank you, fine.
Yeah,
fine.
So welcome to the show. You made it to a conversation in jazz.
Thank you.
So I'm honored to have you on our show, and so this is a platform talking about stories and talk particularly in jazz. But you know, I know that I got my jazz background from your side of the family, and we're gonna talk about that. Because nobody on my mom's side plays jazz or is into jazz, so I must have got it from your side. So, and you have
I got my side from Central High School and Temple University.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about that. Okay. So, but we're gonna go into some of your background, and then we're gonna talk about your connection to jazz. How about that?
Okay.
My first question is, who is Carlos Brown?
I was just about to say, I watched this developing Deontay Parker, and to take music lessons at St. Ignatius was my first honor. You know what I mean? At being, a parent. Yeah. You know what I mean? My child was not just a kid that played in the playground. He had ambition.
Okay.
And then when you take it to the next level and you see that ambition materialize to Howard University.
So you talked about me, but who is Carlos Brown? We're gonna
You are my reflection in the mirror. Myself, I'm Central. I'm just myself.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Are you a poet?
I'm mathematics. No, I'm majored in math.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I like to write like English composition or some kind of thing. I came up in my generation. I like the Temptations, Smokey Robinson, and the Miracles. Okay. Curtis Mayfield. That's what I like.
Okay.
You see, but there's a bridge over troubled water, and you try to open doors wherever and whenever you can.
Gotcha.
And I graduated in '68, which was a very influential year.
Yeah.
I went to a very good school. Went to Central High School. I'm in the 227th class.
Okay.
So at that point, you know what I mean, the years of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy and stuff, you set aims for yourself.
Okay.
To have a dream, to land on a mountain.
Okay.
You search, you set aims for yourself, and if you accomplish those aims, then you find that measure of satisfaction. That's who you become.
Okay. So you from Philly?
Yeah, I'm from Philly.
So what year were you born, Pop?
1951.
You were born 1951? What part of Philly you from?
West Philadelphia.
From West Philly?
Mill Creek. Yeah, Mill Creek Projects.
So were you born in that? Okay, we're going to talk about Mill Creek.
Okay.
Okay, so what was it like growing up in Philly at your time?
When you grow up in the projects, right, and you live on the 16th floor, Philadelphia educates you. You know what I mean? You can look in town and see the Art Museum, Franklin Institute, and that makes you the complex person that you are.
Okay.
For instance, if you're fortunate enough to have a view in 14th floor, it doesn't have to be the 16th or anything. It's easier to set those aims. You know what I mean? For you to find things that you accomplish. The fact that I got an apartment, I can look and see the school that you went to. I can see St. Ignatius. You know what I mean? Is my aim, keeps me focused.
Okay.
You see?
So coming up in Philly, did you have to come up? Did you had to fight? Did you have to do all that?
No, we played much more.
You played?
We played.
People got along?
Yeah, we played.
So it was like more like it was a black community?
It is black or something
I
like
mean,
that. We you know what happens in the city? We played with our trolley cars. You see, we played with trolley cars. You know what I mean? Trains. We as we said, when you visually see your aim, you go do that.
Yeah.
You know.
So were you born? Where were you born at? Like, were you born over in Fort?
I was born on Fairmount Avenue.
On Fairmount? Okay.
Moved right across the street to the projects.
Oh yeah.
My mother, the first person to live in Mill Creek Projects.
Okay.
Used to have to jump up to push the elevator on the 16th floor.
Wow. So let's talk about you were born to Mr. Thomas Reed and Sarah Brown. So we call Thomas Reed, that's Grandpa Fest.
Yeah.
And Sarah Brown, Grandma Bubby.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your parents.
That's what I was just about. It was just about to come once you bring up where you can't separate the two identities. See, first of all, I lived in the separated family situation where my dad was my father's side of the family. Mom was mom's side of the family. But I was fortunate enough to have a good father who also went to Central High School, you see. And for some reason in the adult world, they bickered for a while. But when you have a child or some kind it brings harmony in that relationship or something. So my parents never argued anything. My father always cared, would take me on trips, and my father's side of the family I'd go see my nana in Jersey and everything like that. But Mom was fortunate because she did have that apartment living style, and she also
she can cook.
Mom can cook. That's the truth. And see, that's one of the factors. As a black parent, a female, she had aims that were in front of her that she could set for herself. You know, even if it was no more than styling hair or something like that. Back in the day, they used to curl hairs or some kind of thing. Entertain, you know what I mean? If they drank in-house scotch or whatever it was. My father's greatest accomplishment, he was a gin drinker. You know what I mean? And
that's his greatest accomplishment.
that was, Dad, like if you offered my father a taste, you know what I mean, it would always be gin. You know what I mean?
And Grandpa was a traveling man. He's been around
Dad
the world.
been around the world about 6
He was in World War II?
Yeah.
He spoke different languages?
Yeah. My father speaks a few you know, he's you know what I mean? He was my challenge or something. That was one of my aims for me to at least try to do well in school, you know, and to live up to those expectations. See, when back to the family, when you win a situation like this here, I heard you say it earlier. I think I got the genetics from you, your side of the family. You know, same kind of
the jazz.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Same kind of thing. I looked at my father and I said, well, I got to be smart. I got to keep my grades up. You know what I mean? Because Dad can speak Spanish fluently. He's traveled to China. He can do these things. You know what I mean? So I got to keep my grades up. You know what I mean? Mom, I love my mom can cook and got cornbread and gives me the means to get the good grades. Collard greens are smart. You know what I mean?
Collard greens is what?
They're smart or some kind of thing, you know. And Mom could put that down. You know, she made peach cobbler and banana pudding, you know. My mother could cook, you know.
So did you get a lot of love coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, once again, it wasn't like that. In the projects, right, the whole projects is your mother. You see what I mean? The projects, what I meant by that, projects took the weight off. My mom didn't have to be a mom.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because when you live in the projects, you downstairs playing football, you out in the stairway, you hanging out. You can play wall ball in the hallway and things like this here. Everybody's mom was mom.
Wow, that's heavy.
Miss Nina Bowe's mom, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Once it got down on the planet Earth or something, she was just like, you know, the mother of everything down there. You know what I mean? The radius, we have a geometry in our project. We had the circle, pi r squared. Well, when you take the area and you're the child, you know, you got to follow the dictates of the adults. You got to follow the law. So you're taking the area. Mm-hmm. The adult situation, your parents are the pi r squared factor. You see?
So were you spoiled?
No, I became 360. I was never spoiled.
No.
I was never spoiled.
You said you became 360?
The 360. Right. In order to have a circle, you have to be 300, you have to have 360 degrees. And if you don't accomplish the 360 degrees, you're not smart.
Okay.
You know. And most project kids, you know how to push the elevator to the 12th floor or some kind of thing. They ain't you're not stuck.
Yeah.
You know.
So you also have a sister, Aunt Juanita.
Yeah.
So that's your big sister, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Aunt Juanita. What was it like coming up with Aunt Juanita?
Didn't actually come up so much when they always ran away. You know what I mean? When they always ran away.
But she always looked out for you.
She was searching for me. She spoiled me. If anybody spoiled me, my sister did.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
You asked me about, you know what I mean, who I was when I came up. I forgot this. When I was 2, I had polio.
You had polio? I didn't know.
Yeah, I had polio.
Really?
And I wasn't actually supposed to walk in my left leg, yeah. And during that period of my life, my sister stood by me. I was her baby brother, and she taught me how to walk again. You know, what I mean, insisted on me doing push-ups and things like that. Mm-hmm. And fortunately enough, they came up with the Salk vaccine, and I'm cool. Okay. I don't have to wear a mask over my face anymore or some kind of thing.
Now you do.
well, see, we're in a different situation.
Yeah.
Back then in the 50s, we had Salk or whatever it was, you know what I mean? They give you the vaccine. And it was very interesting because back in the older days, before they had universities and things, people who, if you had polio or some kind of thing, that was sort of like failure, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I overcame that.
Aunt Juanita told me a story, I think, that she ran away, I think she was 15 or whatever. She went to New York, and she was hanging out with Monk and the Jazz and Billie Holiday and all that. So did she ever tell you this story?
Yeah.
Wow. That's fascinating to me.
It's fascinating. It's true. I couldn't verify it because I didn't run away with her, but that's true. You know what I mean? Back then, a lot of the cafe artists and things, they would come to the city and you know, and entertain. And my sister was like that. When you're young, she's like a groupie, you know.
Yeah.
So I can, you know, man. I can.
So
she's the fable of all fables.
Yeah. She told me the story that for some reason went from Philly here to D.C. Was that when you were checking out Watergate?
Yeah.
And she said you were on the highway trying to get a ride back to Philly. And she just happened to be coming from somewhere and saw you on the highway.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I went down to D.C. I was in my junior year in school, and they was impeaching Richard Nixon, and they were releasing the tape transcripts at the government printing office. Mm-hmm. So I'm a Temple Owl. So I decided the day that they release, I run down to D.C. I'm going to get the Watergate reports, okay? They got this real big blue book, about 2,000 pages, and then they got 6 gray book testimony books, transcripts, and 2 introductory volumes, you know, where I read coming through Baltimore, right? Well, in any event, when I get down to Washington, I get down with my Uncle Ben, at my Uncle Ben's house, you know, man, I stayed over at my Uncle Ben's, and I'm sitting there partying with my cousin Cynthia, right? And I'm in my junior year in school, or something. Big time. I got $15 in my pocket, you know what I mean? And back then, $15 a whole lot of money, right? So I decided instead of coming back home, I'm gonna sit down there and party a little bit, you know what I mean? Play the part. So I played the part, and I figured that I can hitchhike back home. Because I went to Delaware Valley College, Agriculture and Order, called to Doylestown, right? And I used to take the Reading Railroad up to school in the morning, and I'd hitchhike back. You know, save $2.50 and go out and buy me a hoagie or some cigarettes and whistles or something like that. So I'm figuring, you know, back then the hippies used to hitchhike and everything. I figured I'm hitchhiking. I got down on the road there in Washington. Must have been about 10:30, 11 o'clock. You know what I mean?
In the afternoon?
In the morning.
Okay,
So,
okay, in the morning.
And I'm hitchhiking.
You on the highway?
On the highway. Just hitchhiking. Thumbing easy riding.
Uh-huh.
Just hitchhiking. Ain't nothing stopped.
You say nothing stopped?
Ain't nothing stopping. The whole thing just like kept on. So I'm still hitchhiking. You know what I mean? Cool. Going back to Philly.
From D.C.?
Nothing, ain't nothing. Underneath the thorough passes and everything, you know, still thumbing. Ain't nothing going down. And then all of a sudden the big event happens. The sun starts to go like dip, you know what I mean? And the shadows start coming like under the bridge. And I look around, I sit down, I done walk too far to go back to Uncle Ben's house. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's about like 4:30, about 5:30. Then it gets dark. You dig? It's nighttime. And I'm still thumbing on the road and ain't nothing happening. And all of a sudden, I see this car comes past. All of a sudden, on the way, somebody's house, that's Carlos, that's Uncle Carlos out there. And it was my sister and her girlfriend, Arlene, and they just happened to see me out on the road.
Where were they coming from?
I think they was coming from Virginia or somewhere like that. But I have never been so happy to see my sister in all of my life.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it was funny. And cars is running 50 miles an hour. You know what I mean? How they, you know what I mean, saw that it was me, I would never know.
Wow.
But
that's an amazing story.
it is. I stopped hitchhiking.
Let's talk about your. Okay, you went to school in Philly. Let's talk about your education.
Okay.
Okay, so. Where did you go to elementary, middle?
Martha Washington
in West Philly?
Yeah, 44th and Aspen Street, 44th and Brown. I went to Tilden Junior High School, 67th and Elmwood. I went to Central High School on Ogonson Island Avenue in the 227th.
Now, let's talk about Central before you go on. So Central, that was a real special school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For school, was it all boys school at the time?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was one of some of the top kids in the city?
Yeah.
So you were smart?
Sort of like that. Yeah.
You got good grades?
Yeah. My dad, if you go to Central, actually when you graduate, you get a bachelor's degree.
Oh, wow.
So I have my bachelor's degree from school.
Oh, wow.
You know.
And
if you fail,
and Grandpa Fest went to Central.
Yeah, my father went to Central too.
So was he the reason why you chose Central?
Certainly, well, you know, I mean, you go in your father, but yeah, I just would say that your dad went to Central, and I wanted to prove that I can get there too.
Uh-huh.
You know. The thing about the degree is
you know my cousin Mark went to Central too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Donnell brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
My cousin Sammy when I was and he's a musician.
Yeah.
He used to play. He played the drums. So he was in the band.
Yeah.
While at Central, I was a cheerleader. I was captain of the cheerleading team. I was on the gymnastic team. We won the championship that year.
Wow.
And I was a tumbler at that. You know what I mean? I'm second in the city in tumbling.
Oh,
I was
wow.
all public.
And speaking of tumbling, I heard when we was coming up in Philly, we're gonna talk about. You used to teach the kids in the neighborhood how to tumble.
I was a coach.
You was a coach?
Team, yeah.
Wow. We're gonna talk about that. You also was a Ford Scholar.
Yeah, Ford Foundation Scholar.
What's a Ford Foundation Scholar?
Well, when I finally got to community college, don't know exactly what it is. All I know is that the assistant dean, Henry Varlak, came up and said, Mr. Brown, you and 10 other students have been nominated for the Ford Foundation Scholarship. And I said, okay. And I didn't expect to win anything. There are 10 other people there, and they're, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, I'd go down to my mailbox. I lived on 62nd and Market Street. And I'd go down to my mailbox, and every day there were like 4 or 5 applications to go to different schools. Mm-hmm. So this happened for about a week or something, just out of the clear. I started getting these applications.
Going to college?
And I said, well, evidently, I must have been accepted. I must have won something. Mm-hmm. You know. So then I sat back and I looked, and eventually wound up with 3 milk crates full of applications. Applications go to University of Hawaii, LSU, UCLA, from around the whole country.
So what school did you choose?
I chose Temple because Bill Cosby went.
Because Bill Cosby?
Because Bill Cosby went. Yeah. Had I known Brown was an Ivy League school, I would have went to Brown. Mm-hmm. You know, went up to Harvard, right, for one weekend, and got to partying with the Harvard Black Student League, and we went from Harvard up to Brown, up in Rhode Island or something, and we partied up there, and we came back there at another party at Radcliffe. I think this was in my sophomore year in school, and that's the one in college experience that I remember, like staying overnight in Harvard Union in the dormitories, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They got this deep mahogany wood and everything. And the brothers that was at Harvard were just as down, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We used to go, I had the Toyota Celica, and I had this brand new car or some kind of thing. So that's what I'm feeling, that like college is that Dobie Gillis experience, you know what I mean? Where you put your Penn State down, you try to get all that you can be, so to speak, from your education. Okay. And 30 or 40 years later, it translates.
So we were talking when we drove up. You were talking about being a Ford.
I forgot. It's negligent. I didn't mention Temple University.
Temple.
I went to Temple University from. I did mention it when I got my scholarship, but as far as like my transition from Martha Washington, all the way up to the Temple University thing, you know. So you've opened doors from your elementary to junior high school to high school. Importantly, in our culture, it's important to know the doors that you open, or have you opened doors since leaving high school. You know, fortunately, I've attended 3 schools, so I've opened 3 of those university doors. And as you can see from yesterday, open them doors that my grandchildren can go through or some kind of thing. First, you have to, when you talk about academics and higher education, you have to discover Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. Academics, that those Greek PhDs and things, they don't just jump out at you and say, "Hey, I'm here to see you," or some kind of thing. You know, you got to discover where they are. Okay. You know.
What was your major?
Mathematics.
Mathematics. Why'd you choose math?
Mathematics is an exact science, and I went to Central High School, and they stressed that.
Yeah, but then at some point you start getting into the Greek and language.
I got Greek. I took linguistics. They always taught me at Central take a math course and a foreign language or something. You know what I mean? Primarily, and it works. Okay. And I found by doing that, as a listener, as a student, it does work. You know, I took Latin when I was in junior high school, in my first year in high school. I took Spanish. But at Temple, I had the opportunity, I majored in radio, television, and film. And by majoring in radio, television, and film, you could take all sorts of electives, you know, anything that, as long as you took up one communication course. So I wound up taking complex variables, differential equations, Greek, linguistics, anthropology, Shakespeare, English composition, and trampoline.
Now, as long as I can remember, you've always talked about the Greek.
Yeah.
What is it about the Greek?
The Greek is philosophy. It's the state of mind. It's the foundation of, I said democracy. It's Aristotle, Plato. It's sort of like when you go to the Olympics, and the Olympics are derivative from the Greek. When you go to school, the way I approached it, you can, in the Watergate thing, you know what I mean? Go to school, reach for the gold medal or some kind of thing. Being there is the silver medal, you know what I mean? Flunking out or failing is sometimes it's the bronze medal. But you can also learn things from your failures, you see? But go there and try to reach for the gold medal, you see? And fortunately, I did. When I had the Greek, I became a better student. Oh, yeah. I studied better. When I first started learning the math, everything was Greek to me, pardon the expression. I mean, all the symbols ran together, didn't understand. And I happened to, by having the Greek, one day I'm at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm sitting there studying, and I think we were doing some kind of, it wasn't a Bessel function. I was curious. It was sort of like a gamma function in a way. But in any event, it had the Greek letters, and it was using like all the Greek letters and things. And I don't know if it was Laplace transform or whatever. But in any event, being that I had the Greek, it made the math a little bit clear to me. It became more finite.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I realized that the sign of an equation was x over h, itself on the cosine. You know, the things began. The secant was 1 over y, 1 over. You know, things became clearer.
So, did you pledge a fraternity?
No. I took the fraternity was when I went to Washington and hitchhiked back and got the Watergate books or some kind. That was my initiation or some kind.
That was your initiation?
I pledged then. I pledged I was never hitchhiking again.
So okay. So let's go back and talk about Mill Creek.
Okay.
Was it called the Mill Creek Projects or the 46th Street Projects?
It's Mill Creek. But the funniest thing about coming out of projects is friendship. You know, I can't leave behind my friends like Leonard Showell, Donald Long, Ricky Nelson, Fonz. You know, you there's a friendship in the project. You don't feel that you don't have to be. The amazing thing about the project, you don't have to feel. Nobody feels like you got to be better than anybody. You don't have to strive. You remember what I was telling you earlier today? Some people walk up and down the stairs or something. When you live in apartments, what did you learn today about apartments?
What did I learn today about apartments?
What did I tell you today about apartment living?
You got to tell me again. I forgot.
That we live on elevators, that we don't walk up and down the stairs for our culture. You get to your floor, and then you observe or something.
Okay.
So we were taught from the 5th floor today, all right? When you arrive at the 5th floor, if you live in the projects, you're used to being there. You see me? I live on the 16th. So the 5th floor is always there in my world. Now, when we leave the 5th floor, we come downstairs, we got the sign things, we're out in the world of life.
Now, when you talk about the 16th floor and the 15th floor and the 12th floor, you're talking, these are high rises.
These are high rises.
Now, so what is the 16th floor?
The 16th is the same apartment living.
Was that the highest in that
was
building?
The top of the building. 16th floor.
So you got to look out over the city and all that?
Yeah, you can see that. But it's not so everybody had a view. You know what I mean? The guy down, the kids down the hall had another view. 13th floor had a view. They could look out at the trains running and stuff.
But the 16th floor was special to you?
No, it wasn't that special. It was the fact that I knew there were no like rules and regulations over my head. I knew what freedom was, right?
You knew what freedom was?
Yeah. And truth. But the thing is, it was all about apartment living. You see what I mean? Where, as I was saying, when you look out of your window, no matter what floor you are on, and you're looking through that mirror, and you see your aim in front of you, you see what I mean? You can go get it. Yes. That's a luxury. Like if, as you were coming up, you went to St. Ignatius, you learned to play the saxophone. Had you lived in the buildings or something, you would have looked downtown and you would have said, yeah, I want to play that, so I want to play the saxophone, but I want that particular sax. You see what I mean? You could go shopping because you got the view of perhaps, and they did this. You know what came out of the projects?
What's that?
The soprano saxophone. The soprano saxophone.
How'd that come out of?
It came out of the projects because everybody was playing the alto and they were playing tenor, and then the musician, the McCoy Tyner generation, said, I want to go to the next level, and they looked out of the window. They saw Philadelphia, the technology, that mirror, and they selected that.
Okay.
The keyboards came out of the project, came out of the building, or some kind of where they took the you couldn't get a regular piano in an apartment. Can't get it on the elevator, so they had to come out with the keyboard, something the electric piano.
Gotcha.
You know, so that you get my father, your grandfather, bought me one of them little organs or something when they first came out or something, and they were like the first little organs that you could push the buttons and come up with chords or something. But you know what I mean? They started out with like bongo drums, and the first thing the projects will teach you is harmonics. The flutist was in love with the projects. You know what I mean? Where you could go into the stairway and just play the flute, and then just like hear the sounds or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where his head was. That was.
I remember as a kid when we lived on 48th Street, so I had to walk through 46th Street and the Mill Creek Project to go to St. Ignatius to go to school. And so when I was going to school, people would come out the door and they would say, "There go little Carlos," and so you were very popular in the Mill Creek project, and people would come out their door. Such and such, come on, here go little Carlos. Oh, he looked just like his daddy. Okay. And so I felt kind of special, and I guess that I was cool because everybody knew who you were. Everybody knew. They would tell me stories how you would teach the kids boxing and teach the kids tumbling and I was so you had a nice.
I think that the thing about that is the fact that I lived on the 16th floor. They could point up and they know the guy if you live at the top or something, you know what I mean? You're that guy or some kind of thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I kind of miss that. You know, you miss that in the world because you can be differential. You see, for instance, when you live in the projects, right? These come out of the projects, but these are down the hall from where I live. These are apartment D, right? But if you're the guy that lives on the top of the bottle, right? A lot of things happen. You got to open the bottle or something, and then people are allowed to drink or something. If I don't perform at the top of the bottle, right? If I don't open it, right, you're thirsty. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if the guy from the 16th floor goes out and he doesn't perform, we got a problem with the generation. Now, let me explain to you, because you're looking, you know what I mean, through your eyes, you're looking at my ambitious side and things that I've done. But remember, flip the coin. What would have happened had I decided to be a pickpocket or something? You know what I mean? Had I been some kind of slickster? You know, you see what I mean? I could have used that 16th floor identity factor and been somebody else. Gotcha. You see? Yeah. So that's where education comes in. That's where Central High School comes in. You see? That's where growing up comes in, you know? Gotcha. You know? So that's where you're looking out at Philadelphia, and Philadelphia says, I'll give you that opportunity. You don't have to be a pickpocket. You shouldn't be because of everything that you got. If you ever go out and do anything, snatch a pocketbook or do anything wrong or this, you're going to let Miss Brown down over there at Martha Washington, my first elementary teacher or something. Miss Castleberry will never speak to you again or something. Stand you in the corner and put the dunce cap on your head, you know? So it made me, the thing on the 16th floor living, project living made me an honest person. So many our graffitis come out of the projects. The Cool Klepto Kid and Cool Earl, Bobby Cool wrote their names all over the city of Philadelphia. And they're my little brothers, you know what I mean? Got one of their poems in the book. And just to see that dynamic, you know what I mean? I'm up way out in Frankfurt somewhere, and I'm looking on the L stop way up on the roof or some kind of thing. I see this thing, the Cool Klepto Kid. And I'm saying, how did my little brother get up there? Because he used to walking up them stairs at 729. He used to be on the 12th floor, and so he figures he can do things, other things that go places that people haven't gone before. Okay. You know? Yeah. And when you go to school and you're looking over your shoulder at the next generation, you say, you got to do something so that they can get the rebound or some kind of thing, you know? Let's talk about your nephews. Okay. Walter and Rodney. Okay. You kind of raised them like they were your own kids. Okay. What was it like? Because Rod that's my cousins. Okay. And so this is your generation. You know, I didn't have any brothers. I have sisters, only Juanita and myself. Me and I. And so, Rodney, that's my aunt Juanita's. Yeah, two children. Two sons. So Walter, the oldest one, 1964, he was like my brother. You made the first, you know what I mean, keeping me company. You know, you got to share the ice cream with him or some kind of thing. You know what I mean? Up until that point, all the peach cobbler was mine or some kind of thing. You know, when Walt came or some kind of thing, I started looking around, and you know how you leave the peach cobbler for a little later on and you want to see the Johnny Carson show or something? I come from the school or something, the peach cobbler gone. You know? So Walter ate the peach cobbler. The peach cobbler gone. Then 2 years later, 1967, comes Rodney, the little one. Now, spoil Rodney, right, because he's the baby.
Uh-huh.
Walter looked like Cupid or something. He had these long curly hair and everything like this. And I said, ate all the peach cobbler. Okay. Now Rodney comes along or something, and as a spoiled one, I'll give him a scoop of ice cream. All of a sudden, the both of them get a conspiracy. They start like eating the peach cobbler before you get home from school or some kind of thing. You know what I mean? They'll be sitting there, you know. So eventually, Mom solved the problem. She made 2 things of peach cobbler, you know, and you start, you know, you build that kind of relationship. Other than that, you know what I mean, having nephews was groovy.
Yeah, that's
you
cool.
know.
So let's talk about how I came along.
Yeah, well,
okay,
you came along.
So we'll talk.
The transition is now I have nephews and nieces. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Different from the nephews and nieces. Girls are much different. Or something. You got to get berets and things like this here. So this is still a work in progress. You, my first child.
Your only child.
My only child.
You sure?
You know,
Sure?
Tends to be a Howard University thing, a summation of. I'm so pleased that you followed in certain footsteps, and you took some advice I gave you. I said, when you go to school, don't do like Dad did, come home and try to bring it to the neighborhood. Go to school and let the school doors fall down on you. Or something. You seem to have done that, your teacher.
So why'd you leave school? You was in college. Why'd you
74, when President Nixon stepped down, but not because they didn't impeach President Nixon.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He did the kind of wise thing. I'll resign, I'll step down. When he left the White House, I left the university.
Okay.
I got 15 years of education. I live on the 16th floor. I don't need the white man to be over my head. As soon as, if you allow him to do that, get on the 16th floor, he'll put a mask over you and say, you know what I mean, this is democracy, you know, freedom of speech. You know what I mean? That don't translate, you know what I mean, when you push an elevator. But the beautiful thing about an elevator, first Einstein says E equals MC squared. Our mind is, we push the 8th floor, arrive on the 8th floor. You know, if you arrive on the 7th floor, something's wrong with that. You know what I mean? If you arrive on the 6th, we have a problem in modern America of underachieving. One thing elevators guarantee you is equality, where you don't fall into the trap of underachieving. We live in a world now where we have to watch the millennial children because they've been programmed to underachieve. Of some kind.
That's heavy.
You dig?
Yeah.
To not integrate with people, to be differential, to back off and to be apprehensive or some kind of thing. In the long run or something, that's underachievement.
Okay.
Even as great as the sports situation is today or something, if you're playing in an empty coliseum or stadium, it must affect the athlete. If you're looking at little placards or whatever they are in the state, that is an underachievement.
Oh, wow.
So it's possible to underachieve in spite of greatness.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So we're beginning to arrive at that position in the world. You see, the completion of the circle, you know what I mean, on the radio. One thing that mathematics takes into an equation is the fact that we always think of linear counts or something, you know what I mean? 1, 2, 3, so forth and so on. But aging is a mathematical process. You see?
Aging?
Yeah, getting older.
Okay.
Or some kind of things that you did when you were younger, you're not able to do now. So you're looking at a situation with the modern athlete where they're getting at this point, well, it's retirement for certain ones or something. But, and that's all good because after you retire, they're prepared for you. But fortune is two-edged or something. Do I retire and in an underachieved era or something? Is it still meritorious in my greatness? You see, that's one of the future questions that come or some kind of thing. And these are just called laws and things that you learn as you grow older.
Yeah. Okay.
For instance, academically, I wasn't surprised. It was until I was 30, and I've told one thing I tell everyone. They won't tear your ideas down until you're 30. Once you turn 30, every generation, they knock you right out of the door. When I was 30, it was when all of the Central High School, the Temple University, so disappeared from somewhere. They evict you. They go through your door. This is where the Greek comes in. They go through the door, steal your game. It's no kind of way you can tell me, if I take one away from one, this is what you got left. That's real. If I put it over here, that's not the same thing. Okay. And that's the game, the shell game that they play with every generation. Okay. And you didn't expect to see it. You never expected to see like rap and hip hop go out of style. You know what I mean? Yeah. You never thought you'd see sports, you know what I mean, in a situation with nobody in the audience and nobody selling Air Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? This season, yet everybody did. You know what I mean? So
you such a philosopher.
Well, if you can take it away and put it, it must be a way to get it done.
Okay, so let's get back on track. Okay, how'd you get into jazz? I remember, before I tell you that, I remember when I was a kid, I remember you had this beat up trumpet and you were walking around this beat up trumpet. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were trying to play a trumpet?
Yeah.
But how'd you get into jazz?
Well, let me first say this. I'm not a musician. Okay. Right? I'm not a musician. I'm a mathematician or something. I toot along on the trumpet or something. Okay. My father plays guitar. He played the flamenco thing. And you and the genetics is there. So when you and Dad, you know what I mean, or the artist, your aunt can blow the flute a little bit. I, like most people in my generation, was into the Temptations, the Four Tops, Smokey and the Miracles, Curtis Mayfield. And we used to party or some kind of thing. Now, and that was me. We'd be in the stairway, right? You know, we'd be singing, harmonizing, a cappella. Now, what we found out, though, if you got a flute or something and you played it in the stairway, you would get that echo. Okay. You know, so that was where music kind of like began for us.
Yeah, but what got you into jazz?
That was jazz. Jazz is improvisation. You know what I mean? It's where you have a rhythm. You can take a sound, like I said, the original, and you can find a harmony. You can express your creative idea, and another person can express something entirely different.
So where did you first hear jazz?
You know what I mean, listening on the records. I was a record collector, and my father, Daddy, used to always have Billie Holiday, Miles Davis, and he used to have the music on. Okay. And I got introduced to jazz. I was just through records. Okay. I was a record collector.
And then at some point you got into comedy. How'd you get? You used to be
collecting records.
Used to be a comedian. Used to be a comedian.
Yeah, what got you in records got me in. Listening to records, y'all probably would know.
What records?
But just like albums itself. Started off with like Diana Ross and the Supremes, like the Motown.
No, I'm talking about comedy.
That's what I mean. Well, see, the whole talented venue or something, trying to laugh and trying to start, came out of the Motown era. You know what I mean? Where we were like the Motown generation. So a lot of us were like imitating the that somebody else had put down. Now, when you listen to records, right? You get caught into that. Well, I got into like labels or something. Like I was on the Impulse label and things like that there. And a lot of times when you're collecting albums, you see a particular album that catches your attention. Yeah. You see, so you bring it home and then you play it, and then you like it or you don't like it.
Were you doing stand-up comedy though?
Yeah, I was doing stand-up.
I'm saying, how'd you get into that?
From Bill Cosby.
From who?
From Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor. You know what I mean? Okay. From listening to the albums, I knew what I wanted to do. That doesn't make you funny. Bill Cosby got an album.
So did you used to write your own?
Write my things, yeah.
Yeah. So now you said that in addition to performing comedy, you was an MC. Yeah. And you would MC, and you open for certain artists. Yeah. What's some of the artists you would bring in?
Well, I worked with Pharoah Sanders.
You opened for Pharoah Sanders?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was beautiful. Pharoah had the stage set up just like you come into one of these auditorium situations. This is community college, Black Student League. And the stage was set up. The whole thing was filled with percussions, triangles and things. They had the dancers. Pharoah had the horn. And I had to walk up to the stage and, you know what I mean, welcome to community college. You know, this is the Pharoah Sanders Quartet is going up. And I'm just sitting there looking out at the friends and everything, you know, my classmates and students, and he started playing Creator Has a Master Plan.
Wow.
You know, and I sat there. After that, I enjoyed the show, and then when they had to change the set, you know what I mean, I came up again and told a few jokes and things like that.
You opened for Monk as well?
Then there was Thelonious Monk.
So how was that like seeing Monk?
Thelonious Monk was the same.
Yeah.
Monk was the same type of thing. See, the Black Student League at junior college, they started doing like you're doing. You know, you're in your artistic mode or some kind of thing, and that's what you reaching for, that gold medal in college or something in your sophomore year to get your associate's degree. And so the major thing about Monk is the fact that he showed. You know what I mean? Back then, it's not like you invite like Thelonious Monk or come to the show and they'll show. You know what I mean? So first we found that they would show. Our school was at 11th and Market Street, and that they were coming.
Wow.
And the show was in the annex and everything. So Monk was on the bill. He came.
Man, you got to open for Monk, huh?
Yeah. So he came in and he came on the stage. He was tall, had a brown suit on, beard, had his fez on, and he sat down at the piano and started playing Straight No Chaser or something. And Thelonious Monk Jr. was on drums or some kind of thing. And he did his set. And I knew right about then, or after the Modern Jazz Quartet, the Modern Jazz.
You did them too?
Yeah. They might have been, these shows weren't like, they were like condensed. They were all like on the same show or some kind of thing. So like after Monk would play, maybe Doug and Gene Carn would come on or the Modern Jazz Quartet. So while they're setting up their equipment or something, I would tell the jokes, right? And I kind of noticed that community college did its job, you know what I mean? I'm educated, so I know what black culture is and who I am, you know.
And you did you said the last poem, Yusef Lateef?
The Last Poets. Yeah.
And Yusef Lateef?
Yusef Lateef, the Ohio Players.
Wow.
Miles Davis Jr. Alatunji. You know, I've been fortunate that I could put it parentheses around a certain time period. This is from 72 to maybe 74. So sometimes there's a brief window that you can look to put your cultural thing together. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then after all of that, that's sometimes the only thing that survives is the memory, because the concrete things that you want to represent, some kind of way they done switch the bottom on you. Wow. You can't see them anymore.
So now, you've been a comedian, you're MC. Now you write poetry. Yeah. And we want you to share some of your poetry. Okay. So you got a few poems that you read to me that did. Okay. First we called you had a poem called You Jasmine? Yeah. Let's hear what you got.
That's your birthday. All right.
This is called the title. Give me the title.
You Jasmine. Well, before we go to You Jasmine or something, want to flavor you with a poem, and then we go to You Jasmine. Say, Have you ever wondered why, as you gazed into the sky, when the sky is midnight blue, what it really means to you? Have you listened to the wind when you can't get out or in, when it's knocking at your door and you don't know what it's for? Have you reached the Milky Way and forgotten how to pray, falling in and out of love while he sits high above? I have, yet I haven't. Have you ever turned the page to questions as you age? I have, yet I haven't. If heaven where he sits could reveal a little bit, what would the heavens say as it makes a better day? 'Tis he that's in control between the hot and cold, before the rising sun and when the day is done. 'Tis he that sets our day and blesses things that pray. I have, yet I haven't. Have you shown a lot of love and found a broken heart? Have you ever prayed above, yet put the horse before the cart? I have, yet I haven't.
Oh, that's it, man. I like that.
Okay.
That's called I Have?
Yeah. Have you ever?
Have you ever? Okay.
Okay.
Let's hear
You Jasmine.
You Jasmine.
You Jasmine.
So give us some background on You Jasmine.
This is your birthday or something. You're 51st?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So You Jasmine, part 1.
Okay. You got two parts.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
2 parts there.
Okay.
You jazzed me, part 1. You jazzed me when you were a child. You jazzed me with your baby smile. I got jazzed when you were born. You jazzed me when you play your horn. You jazzed me every May the 3rd. Doors you've opened, things you've heard. You jazzed me with your scholarship. I knew right there that you were hip. You jazzed me with the games you play. You jazzed me just for being Tay. I'm honored. Happy birthday, son. Jazz with you is so much fun. Create ideas, create new styles, create a gift, and Miles will smile.
Beautiful, beautiful. You jazzed me.
You jazzed me, part 2. How do I find Antonio? I must find the key. Tay doesn't know what he means to me. Where must I park? Perhaps on the moon. Listen here, Tay, play Antonio's tune. For 51 years have I ever shown love? For it's important to know the whom that you love. Help me to find Antonio. Perhaps it's a road that I just don't know. Solve me my puzzle. I'm puzzled in Greek. This is witchcraft, so Alpha must speak. Speak first to the woman who gave him a name, then pray to the sun to send you a flame. Say, I'm the father and I need a key. My son is Antonio, and set my son free.
Oh, that's beautiful. And for those who don't know, they call me Tay Tay. So he used both my names, Antonio and Tay Tay. My middle name's Deontay, so that's where Tay Tay comes from.
This is
All right,
fun.
beautiful.
Play Sanford and Son upon the stage and watch the centuries turn the page. Comedy's history, black solutions to our mysteries. Pygmy, Slappy, Frankenstein, foxy statements in prior times. Flash, Red Fox, and Harlem Nights. How shall I rearrange your light? Like Charles Chaplin searching Central High, or a tramp clowning in the sky. Thank you for this little fun. It fathers me, the rising sun.
Beautiful, beautiful. You got a poem called Miles that you wrote for Miles Davis.
Yeah.
Let's hear that.
To find my queen, a love supreme, then don my wings, my favorite things. To make doors rain, sketches in Spain, before the sun, have big fun. Birth of the cool, damn the fools, Miles Davis. Miles in the sky, triangle fly, mute cute, daddy-o, trumpet street, trumpet blow. Count, bassy beat, circle circles in the round, midnight dizzy, dizzy sound. Louis Armstrong, getting down. Ella Fitzgerald in the clouds, you mouse a killer, black and proud. Red Fox, Billie Holiday, Jimi Hendrix, rainy day. Mel Torme, so crystal clear, Maynard Ferguson in your ear. Mute cute, be as you are, Charlie Chaplin, let people star. Blue Miles, bongo beat, spirit sounds on Basin Street. Blow, blow, trumpet born, through town's door, man with the horn. Make Richard Pryor tap and crap, let Pharoah Sanders hold your hat. Since Valentine, our homes are gone, and with it went the sacred horn. We'll don our wings and keep the jazz. After all, that's all we have. Miles Davis, damn the fools. Our scholarships will build new schools. Be as you are, man with the horn, often here, often gone. Chromatic character of our times, harmonic green light in my mind. Thank you for this sacred sound. Your faithful student, Carlos Brown.
Wow, that's heavy. That's heavy.
Miles Davis.
And we had one. You had another one called what's that? Not the Bishop.
Buddha.
The Buddha.
Yeah.
Who's the Buddha?
The Buddhist question.
The Buddhist question.
Well, let me find it. I don't ask that question in the poem. Who the Buddha? It's just it's a philosophical position. Yeah. So let me see. Let you hear it and see how it turns out here. This one's, and for this the Buddhist questions. This one, Beyond the Clouds. This is about your grandfather. This is a Father's Day poem here.
Okay.
It's called Beyond. It says, beyond the clouds, way up high, sits the Father in the sky. He sees the way the world begins and watches as the sunset ends. Before the raindrops in the sky, sits the Father way up high. He sees the world before we look, then turns the pages in the book. Beyond the clouds, beyond the wind, he watches as the world just spins. Night to day to night, right to wrong, wrong to right. Beyond the moonbeams in my heart, sits the Father with his art. Trumpets play with confirmation happy souls with transformations. Beyond the rivers and valley deep sits the Father as we sleep. Monday sleepers tend to smile, Sunday sleepers his favorite child. Beyond the moonbeams before the sun sits the really Holy One, candlelight to destiny, enlightenment, world history. A soldier on the ocean blue created both me and you. I cannot reach the stars in space, for I feel it's just the Father's place.
Beautiful.
That's a Father's Day. Here's the Buddha.
Okay, let's hear the Buddha. And then we got one more after the Buddha. Okay?
A Buddhist questioned Jesus Christ. Have you a parable for me? I comprehend the scripture clear. It seems to set me free. The master smiled, the Sunday shine, into the temple pour. Believe in me, the Lord would say. In my name you are saved. The Buddha bowed as Buddhists do. The road right there was paved. Yet then the language of earth did play, a game of silly words. Fiction's diction would twist the truth of the things that it observed. What is belief? I play the thief. Explain philosophy. Resurrect my Africa, dear Lord, for my rivers need a key. The world is spinning hot for me. What is my destiny? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, said the Buddha at the door. And the world did wait as the Son of Man spake. Would a bishop to his church deny a blessing for his sheep and serve communion in a broken cup, spilling wine upon his feet? Or a father to a servant give, in the midst of the summer heat, a coat of wool to wear about and no shoes upon his feet? Forgiveness is so seasonal if there's ice upon his brow. Forgive your fellow man, I say, and wipe it with your towel. Enlightenment shall melt away the darkness in his heart, and blessings the little things that prevent man's evil arts. Forgiveness is so seasonal, a universal spring, where autumn's love becomes the glove, where snowflakes don their wings. The golden gates are marbleized. I gave my life for you. In righteousness, my sacrifice becomes the holy key. In righteousness, my sacrifice becomes the victory.
Beautiful. So I got one more. Can you do one? So, Pop, you know the question in my heart, right? Yeah. I want you to look in the camera and do this is my favorite one. They call it the question. You don't need to read it. Just look into the camera. I want you to talk to the people right there.
And off I look towards the sky as common life just passed me by, to dream in worlds of fantasy in search of my reality. And then I reached towards the sky as common life just passed me by. Was I too slow, was I too fast to grab that star that makes my past an aging tape of inner pain, of lonely days and tears in vain? A little boy cried to the skies as common life just passed me by. Oh, Father, Father, take my hand. The wind is cold, I fear this land. The spirit's broken, slowly tearing, the shell's dissolving, slowly wearing. If I must live for dreams, then how? Interpret my eternal now. Contract the abstract thoughts of when. This where does inner peace begin? I've looked to stars for signs since birth. It's now time to look towards earth.
Wow, that's my favorite one, man. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That was 21. That was at 21 and at community college.
You wrote that at the age of 21?
About 21.
Man, that's a classic.
The
question. That's my favorite one. I love all of them, but that's my favorite one. So we're gonna wrap it up. So the question, I got a couple more questions. What's next for Carlos Brown?
Well, as I was looking, as we say, it's one of those. It is the question right there, because remember, we don't have our aim set anymore. You know what I mean? We can't select which horn we're going to buy. And many times when you go to the shop, it's all sold out. There's no more 16 floors. So, to continue to be inspired, to continue to write. The question was significant in my academic pursuits for one reason. I was at that point where I didn't know where the creator was. I was trying to communicate. You know what I mean? When I looked towards the sky, I actually did. Okay. And the question was answered. You know, and through all of the school work and everything, only thing that survived, you know, it was the reemergence of the question. You know, putting it in the book
So
writing.
So what are your plans? I mean, what do you want to? What do you?
To be a better grandfather and
Okay.
a father.
So you got your grand Elijah and Josiah. You got to see the grandkids.
Yeah.
How was that? What was that like?
That's my new creative plateau or whatever. You know, I got energy. You know what I mean? I got firepower to do something. Family is very important. I'm on my way to be 70. So most of my things is kind of behind me, you know what I mean? So as long as I do this, I'm a Ford Foundation scholar. Let me say it better than that. I'm gonna make a foundation. I'm a Ford Foundation. I'm gonna try to create a foundation so that the children can go there.
Okay.
Foundations are created on truth, on sets like this here, Conversations with Jazz.
Okay, great. So what parting words of wisdom that you can tell? Give them some parting words of wisdom.
There is a joke way out in space that seems to clown the human race. It seems so funny how we moon often in and out of tune. All welcome as we ride the cosmic clown to the other side. Oh look, we see Bozo Mars change his makeup before the stars. Uranus, Venus, Mercury, 3 laughters in our galaxy. Planet Earth just spins away, day to night, night to day. Oh, there's a rainbow in the sky, pastel colors when raindrops cry. The rings of Saturn must be fun, and we cannot forget the rising sun. Neptune with its oceans deep, planet Pluto dark secrets keep. Vast impressions in outer space, the Joker's rocket, King, Queen, Jack, Ace. When things are sad, I tend to pray, tend to get my Bible out, and give the heavens a mighty shout. Perhaps that's the joke way out in space, to pray out in the Father's place. And as I knock on heaven's door to question things when I'm not sure, the planet Jupiter tips his hat, says prayer is good. Yes, pray like that. Pray for prayers and blessings too. For when his light shines, the joke's on you.
Wow. And I forgot, it's funny, that's a beautiful poem. Last question. What is the comedy of life?
The Greek.
The Greek is the comedy of life?
Yes,
because I remember you always talk about the
door. There's a door to good humor, you know, laughter, to, you know what I mean, to be that happy soul, like a whole note in music, or wondering whether you want to be a half note or a quarter note or something.
Okay.
Those comedy gives you those options, you know what I mean? You can interject humor right in between the musical line of some kind of thing.
Beautiful.
And I told you earlier today, I said maybe try to write something about happiness. That's kind of what we need, but comedy is not the answer by no means. Mathematics is the answer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if I can continue to find myself on a mathematical road and transport it into creative writing, I feel successful.
Beautiful. Well, there you have it. The one and only Mr. Carlos Brown, my father. And
Conversations with Jazz.
Yes, you're listening to a conversation in jazz, and we don't went all through we don't went all through jazz and everything. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you the next time.
That's pretty.